Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and I'm joined with my co-hosts Zack and Emmett. We're back to talk some more MSU sports. Sorry, we had a week off last week. Our schedules just did not line up, and we were going to record Friday, and we had stuff going on, and then the Tigers were playing till 1 a.m. So that ended up just not helping things. So we decided to scrap it. We're back this week. We'll talk a little football, some basketball, some hockey. Get you kind of ready, I guess, as ready as we can be for the Indiana game this weekend, and then have some other, hopefully, more fun topics to discuss. So, Zach, Emmett, thanks for joining me. How you guys doing today?
Doing good. Probably a good thing that we didn't record last week because I feel like we would have to talk about how incorrect we were about the game. So I feel like we don't have to go very much more into detail about that game. So maybe it's a positive that the Tigers went until 1 a.m. because that episode was never recorded. So, but outside of that, doing good. Hockey's doing fine. We got basketball next week. MSU football, that's another topic. But outside of that, doing good. How are you doing, Emmett?
I'm doing good. Like Zach said, we would be walking back a lot of stuff if we had recorded last week to talk about UCLA. Obviously, not a great game. Just real quick on the Nebraska game. That one, you had 3 quarters of really good football, and then that fourth quarter, everything fell apart, and MSU never got out of that slump. It's, I guess, the way you can recap the last 2 weeks, really. It's just the Spartans are in a slump. Since Aiden Childs hit his head on the turf against Nebraska,
Yeah.
reset him to 2024 Aiden Childs. He's not, just on an injury topic, we're not sure about him this week. So here we are right now with not, I would say the mood is not very optimistic heading into this Indiana game. How are you doing today, Chris?
Well, we're live, and that's something to be thankful for, I guess. Yeah, just really quickly going in the last couple of weeks, the Nebraska game, winnable game. The way it was going, MSU put forth a pretty solid effort. Just kind of let it slip away in the fourth quarter. It was depressing. I know the group chat was firing about that, and Emmett was sending us messages from the sidelines about certain things that were happening, and it's just frustrating to see. I was at a wedding, so I was watching, but I wasn't as intently watching as I could have been, which probably in retrospect was a good thing. And then this past weekend, I had some family stuff that's been going on, and so that took me away from having to intently watch the UCLA game, which, blessing in disguise. We saw with James Franklin at Penn State being fired this week, kind of a shift in college football, I guess I want to say, to where coaches maybe who are just underperforming in season could be on the hot seat, and that has really raised a lot of questions for Jonathan Smith. I know the MSU fan base has been split on him in the past, even coming into the season on whether or not he should have been the guy, whether or not he should be, the guy moving forward, I guess. When would be the time to let him go and move on? These past 2 weeks have not dispelled any thoughts of that. In fact, the hot seat is probably getting hotter, at least from the fan base. And then, that UCLA performance did not inspire any help there. That was just not great. So moving to Indiana, it's a tough game. You don't expect to win. You're going against the number 3 team in the country on the road, already not in a great spot. And then the showing you've had the last 2 weeks doesn't really inspire confidence. ESPN's Power Index has MSU with like a 3.6 chance to win this game, so honestly
That's
might be
too
higher than
high.
I thought it was.
That's
Would have
much
been.
too high.
Indiana's coming in as a current 27.5-point favorite on ESPN Bet, and so the way MSU looked last week against UCLA, that might be something you bet Indiana to cover. So not great vibes going in. I did see some tweets that Aiden Childs is expected to be healthy enough to play this week. Whether or not that happens, maybe they want to hold him on until he's fully healthy. You have Michigan coming up. That's obviously a big game in the grand scheme of things for us always. So I don't know how it shakes out, but we got to be seeing some signs of life out of this team hopefully this week, because it's been a pretty uninspiring few weeks. I guess we'll leave it at that. I don't know really how else to describe it. I'll let Zach and Emmett maybe go into it. Those looking for more of an instant reaction to our UCLA thoughts. Emmett pretty much hit it nail on the head after the game, so I would kind of refer to our socials and YouTube page for that. He kind of covered it up pretty well. We all kind of agree with that. So I guess let's go into a little bit more of Indiana for you guys, and then we'll move on to more pleasant stuff.
Yeah, I really don't know like how much you truly go into Indiana because you just look on paper and you just don't really truly see a way MSU wins this game, unfortunately. Like offensively, you got Mendoza. He's been fantastic this year. They have a couple wide receivers that have been great. They've been pretty good at running the ball. Defensively, they're a top 5 team in the country. MSU struggled against a really bad UCLA team to score. And then you obviously have the interesting statement or few words that basically said, "Oh yeah, he's going to be healthy enough to play." Like that's it. Like I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, but it's just interesting that those were the words that were used. So it almost hints at like, yeah, he could play, but probably not. And if he doesn't, I honestly wouldn't be too opposed to that because if you want to beat Michigan, and we'll have that conversation next week. I think you need a healthy Aiden Childs, and you haven't seen that whatsoever. You also need a confident Aiden Childs as well. But I also kind of feel bad for Alessio because if he gets to start in this game, like there's a real chance that if he struggles, his confidence just gets completely shot. Like there's no good situation going into this game unless like Nick Marsh goes for like 10 receptions, 200 yards, like something just flips for this team. Maybe if they take the ball and go and scores a touchdown, that could be an interesting thing. I know MSU did that against Nebraska, and that didn't obviously pan out well for them. But if I'm MSU, you might want to consider trying to take the ball on the road, trying to put up points in the first drive, and trying to. Kurt Signetti is not going to be afraid to run up the score, and it could get real ugly real quick. And sometimes the best way to try to prevent that is either go up early or keep your offense on the field because sometimes the best defense is a good offense that keeps the other team's offense off the field. So if you look on paper, you see why it's a 27.5 point favorite. I'm not fully expecting MSU to win this game. I'm just asking for confidence. I'm asking for fight. I'm asking to not get completely embarrassed in the first or second quarter. Like if we can go into halftime and like show like something, like that's where we're kind of at heading into this game for me.
Honestly, Zach, I feel like with your comments about, the best defense is an offense staying on the field, I feel like I was right back at a press conference because I'm not that optimistic coming into this game because you just see top 4 offense and top 5 defense, and there is not a lot to be optimistic about. They're playing a Indiana team that decimated Illinois, and Illinois had a last-second field goal to beat USC. And transitive property, USC really did not struggle against the Michigan State defense, for example, and just kind of blew them out. So there is a lot of just transitive property. You don't feel good about this game, frankly. And it's hard to say that it's just, the staff, the personnel, because the staff, could they have recruited better? Could they have better talent? Could they have that Signetti-like effect if they had better players in the portal? Sure. Could they have done, there's a lot that you have that they could have done, but at this point, one of the themes in the press conference was, no one is coming to save you. So at this point, it's all on the team, and being all on the team is not very confidence inspiring right now. I don't see how this team is going to be able to stay on the field for honestly, as someone traveling down to that game, I might have more hours driven than Michigan State has first downs, and I'm driving 5 hours to the game. That's my confidence level right now, and this defense is great. The offense has been no-shows at points, especially in the last 1.5 games, and you don't have that. If you don't have that offensive drive where MSU goes up, like they went up 10-0 last year before giving up, 47 unanswered?
Yeah.
If they can have that 10-0 drive, maybe it looks respectable, maybe it looks like a 10-47 game, but you could see this Indiana team putting up 60, 65 points. Because this Michigan State team, my hope is that they did soul searching during this week, because the effort against UCLA was embarrassing. And I don't know if it was bad play call. I don't know if it was bad execution, but it was, like I've said, embarrassing to watch as media, embarrassing to watch as a fan. I know that normally I'm very positive, very okay. This team could have a chance. We could find a way to get our way into the game. I'll be shocked if it is a 3-score game. I will be shocked if it's a 3-score game in the second half, honestly.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of give you a little light of hope and try to be Mr. Positive. The way to make this game close, I think Zack kind of hit it on the head. You know, if you're able to keep the Indiana offense off the field and sustain some long drives, get the run game established, you have a chance. Go up 10-0. I mean, this team last year went on the road, or went against Indiana, not on the road, but went up against Indiana and got out to a 10-0 lead. And really, for most of the first quarter and start of the second quarter, looked like it was in command of this game, very kind of one-sidedly. Things started falling apart with some turnovers and some bad plays, and then it allowed Indiana to catch up, and then all bets were off there. But if you come out and have that exact same start, get some belief in Kirk Cinetti, just signed a big extension, so maybe the team's not exactly focused on that, kind of maybe looking ahead because MSU isn't the, opponent that they're most likely, having to come out at all cylinders against. So maybe that's kind of the line of thinking. You come out, you surprise them, and you keep it close at half, and then kind of treat it like the Ohio State game last year, where a lot of people maybe really didn't think we were going to have a real close game, and you come in and that game's, close for the vast majority of it. I guess that's probably the best you can hope for. To me, it seems pretty damning that was it Jalen Berger for UCLA last week that came out and said it looked like the team we were going against quit. And that's some pretty damning comments. I mean, I understand you as an opponent, if you're coming off a big win, maybe want to say some stuff and this and that. But Jalen Berger also
in the home locker room, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Jalen Berger was here in this program. He knows what Spartan football is about, and if that's the comments he's having after the game, that's not great. So if you're MSU, you better hope those comments resonated with your players and your coaching staff, and some signs of life need to come out of that, because that last week was unacceptable. I think everybody in the building is going to admit that. And what do you do next? That you put it behind you. That was an unacceptable effort on all accounts. And put it behind you, move on, try to get better, and try to build. And no, you're probably not going to win this game. It's probably not necessarily even going to be a close one. Indiana just coming off a big game against Oregon, just recently. So maybe there's a little bit of letdown. But for me, you're building, you're trying to stay healthy. You're trying to get some stuff in rhythm and regroup for Michigan next week, because that is the game. You have a better shot at winning. It's your rival. It's your biggest game, probably left on the schedule in terms of getting up for a game. So, yeah, come out, see what happens. Try to set yourself up to give a really good effort against the Wolverines in a week. And, hey, maybe you can shock some people in Bloomington. So that's about as best as I got for you.
On the topic of Aiden Child's injury, I do want to say, in my opinion, at least, this is a take I have on Twitter. And obviously, if you saw my Twitter in the last week, some of my takes are a little unpopular. Overall, one thing that I think, Aiden isn't being held out of this game for Michigan, for example. I think this is a matter of you are trying to have your player get healthy. And it's just like how Nick Marsh ended up out against Boston College. I'm not sure if he could have played that game, but it's a matter of maybe the guy can play the game and he's expected to be able to. But they're resting him because he's not 100%. And it doesn't matter that it's Michigan next on the schedule. They're not looking and saying, we want our best shot against Michigan, we're punting this game. It's a matter of, we don't think that Aiden Childs at 60%, Aiden Childs at 70% is going to be better than having Alessio Milivojevic start the game. That is most likely the discussion going on in the room with John Boyer and Brian Lindgren. Is a matter of, okay, we think that Alessio at fully healthy or midseason healthy, if you want to say, okay, he's taking some hits, he's at 90%. Alessio at 90% could be better. They could be saying it's better than Aiden at 50% healthy to play.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that it's Michigan. It could be Michigan next on the schedule. It could be Purdue next on the schedule. It could be Ohio State. They're not looking at that game and saying, we're playing Aiden next game because of Michigan. They're saying we're playing Aiden next because that's the game we think he will be healthy at.
Yeah.
So I do want to address that before it's, Michigan State throwing all their chips in the center of the table to beat Michigan in a last-ditch effort to save Jonathan Smith's job. I don't believe that is the case. And you've heard me. I've been overly negative on this, and I will call it how it is. And I genuinely believe that it is more of a matter of trying to let Aiden heal as opposed to trying to throw all your chips in for Michigan.
Yep. You don't want to run him out half healthy and then get him more hurt where he's done for the rest of the season or
and
extended
we kind of
period
saw that against you. We saw that against UCLA. The first time Aiden got hit was really when things started unraveling for Michigan State football. After Aiden got hit on that second drive, the offense wasn't the same again.
Yep. So, and the exact quote that I was referring earlier, Matt Zenitz from CBS Sports said that Michigan State starting quarterback Aiden Childs is expected to be able to play against number 3 Indiana on Saturday. Sources tell CBS Sport he has been classified as questionable throughout the week after leaving last week's game with an injury. So that's your exact quote. Like I said, Matt Zenitz on Twitter. He was the one who broke that news today. So it sounds like as long as things continue to go and there's no setbacks, then he should see Aiden. But
at least on the travel roster, we want to clarify, not necessarily as a starter, but you'll see him at least in uniform on Saturday.
Well, and I thought that wording was weird too, and we kind of pointed that out to each other. Expected to be able to play doesn't mean start.
And I believe when Nick Marsh was called projected to play against USC, I want to say that it was phrased as projected to start.
Yeah, so we could just be reading into it too. Maybe that was just a mistype, or we might be reading into something more than it's not. But should he be available? Yes. Is he going to play the whole game? Is he going to start? We don't know. We'll have to see how that unfolds Saturday. And
it's not just our small podcast. Chris Solari of Detroit Free Press also pointed out expected to be healthy to play is a lot different than expected to start, expected to play.
Yep. So we'll wrap it up on football here and get to our expected scores and touchdowns. We always got to do it. I know it's not going to be pretty, but I'm going to go ahead and say I've got this to be about a 49-14 Indiana game. That sounds pretty depressing, but I don't. Indiana's looked very good this year, and that's not all as damning on MSU as I'm trying to make it out to be. Indiana looks like they're the real deal. They've looked really good. Every test they've had, they've passed, and they've played some tough games. They've played Oregon. They've played Illinois that was ranked. They've got some games that they've kind of won. I didn't think they had a shot at beating Oregon. I kind of thought it was maybe a little bit of, it's Indiana. We're overhyping them a little bit. They beat Illinois really well, but is Illinois really that good? Oregon's going to be the one that they struggle with, and they came out and won. So they've passed every test so far. Obviously, Kirk Cignetti's the real deal as far as a coach goes. He's knocked everything he's done out of the park, and he's going to continue to do so, I think. So we'll go that for my score, and I will give you a first touchdown for MSU is going to be Mekhi Frazier rushing touchdown.
Nice. And also, if you Google him, you'll realize Kirk Cignetti wins quite often. quite often. He's pretty good. Yeah, just Google him if you want to know if you don't know anything about him. I'm sure you'll learn that he wins quite often. Yeah, and I think he's going to add another one on this one. I think I got MSU losing 42-17. First touchdown. Let's just go Jack Bellinger. It's not going to matter at this point. For the vibes. Hey, I was right for USC, by the way. I was right for USC, so I will always be right about that one. So.
All right. So honestly, this one is going to be interesting to watch because the last year with Jonathan Smith, we saw this team at least be able to put up a semblance of a fight against some of these teams looking to win the national title at the end of the year. We saw the 2 interceptions and the long shot to Nick Marsh against Oregon. We saw MSU self-inflicted wounds took them out, but they gave Ohio State a run for the money in the first quarter. Again, against Michigan, who obviously they were by no means the national title contender last year, but with that defense and everything, MSU still went out to that, 14-0 lead, I want to say, or 7-0?
Yeah, I was just going to say we don't have to rehash that game.
Just looking at them against elite defenses, though, but I don't see this happening based on the effort against UCLA. They came out flat, they came out uninspired after that first drive. They faced one bit of adversity and crumbled. And I think I'm going to do a first, and I'm going to have 2 score predictions. If Indiana gets the ball first, 56-3. The only point's going to be a Martin Connington field goal. If MSU gets the ball first, I think you're looking at a 10-52 contest.
Okay.
And I think that your touchdown is going to be I would say Aiden Childs rushing, but with his status questionable, I would say give me a Alessio quarterback sneak.
Fair enough. All right,
that's the it decides how how the game goes and who gets the ball first is going to decide the difference in terms of how it plays out and if MSU puts up that fight.
Yeah.
Yep. Hope we're all wrong. That's the depressing football talk. Like I said in my little positivity note, maybe those comments from Jalen Berger and the way the fans kind of responded to last week's effort lit some fire under some asses in the football building. Sorry, I know that's not the most family friendly comment, but
I was just going to say, when did we start swearing on this podcast? Like, I swear Chris has dropped at least like 3 already, so I didn't know that this was...
He's on that Jordan Turner time. I mean, my entire first year and a half of MSU media, I heard people swear exactly 3 times in the media room, and it was Jordan Turner all 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, those who know me realized I would be the one to break the wall with that here. So, but that effort last week also warranted it. So hopefully some fires have been lit. Hopefully it's kind of a relock in and where you've got a little bit more positivity to talk about next week. Switch gears to some basketball news and notes real quick. One of our main recruiting targets, Josiah Jervis, set a commitment date for November 5th. MSU is one of the finalists and is expected to be one of the few teams he's choosing between still. That's been kind of a priority recruit for Tom Izzo, so that's something to watch for. Shooting guard, very big ad if we are able to pick him up. That's one of 2 recruits left on the recruiting board that the fan base I know is extremely excited about the potential of landing, and I think would be huge boosts to the team in the future, along with Ethan Taylor. Obviously, we have some other recruits. I don't want to try to diminish them, but those are the 2 that have kind of been identified as like those big time gets. And so November 5th, keep an eye on that because we could be adding a very, very talented shooting guard to the roster. Also, another player MSU's been recruiting pretty heavily, Tristan Reed. He's named as top 5 and includes us, Ohio State, Mississippi State, Mizzou, and Maryland. So he would be another big-time addition. Teammates currently with Carlos Medlock, MSU commit. So
and Ethan Taylor.
Yep, and Ethan Taylor. So
yep.
So it would be potential, run the high school team back, but that's fine. That team's super talented, so we'll take it in East Lansing if that's the case. As Zack said earlier, basketball season, the exhibitions start next week. We're right around the corner. We've broken down the schedule a little bit. We'll do more of a season preview and deep dive into basketball before the season tips off.
Yep.
Big Ten Media Day was today. There's been some fun kind of quotes and grabs from Izzo, and then also Going Carr. Just my highlight of the day, him seeing an old picture of Izzo from like the 70s and commenting on Izzo's style and swag from back in the day was pretty funny. But check around MSU socials and Big Ten online for some of that stuff. You'll see some fun highlights. But we are ever so close to basketball season, and I'm getting super excited for that. So coming up, also happy birthday, Jace Richardson. So
yeah.
You guys got any basketball notes you want to add before I switch gears to hockey and then we wrap everything up?
Just excited. Obviously, I know Midnight Madness wasn't super long ago. I know there's a lot of people there. Obviously, there's the Izone campout, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around there. It's going to be an interesting team to try to figure out. I feel like you're going to try to have an idea of them pretty early on. This schedule is extremely difficult. You even saw Izzo basically say that today, where he's like, yeah, like it's extremely difficult, and he's like, blame the guy at the podium because he's the one that set up, and he's obviously talking about himself. But it's truly back to Izzo kind of doing the old like, let's just run this team through a gauntlet, and it's never like been like completely gone, but like if you look at this non-conference schedule, like when's the last time you've seen something like this? Like it's been a little while. Like
It's
this
been
is
a
a
few years,
brutal
yeah.
non-conference schedule. And that either has me extremely excited because he knows how good this team is going to be, or that has me extremely scared because this team is going to find out real quick if they're a top 25 team or not. And I'm obviously excited to see that. So as long as you defend home court, defend Breslin, we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm obviously this basketball schedule is going to be brutal, and it's honestly, I think I'm excited for it just to see how this team stacks up because there is a lot of question marks, especially now with Caleb Glenn's injury that we all have documented is well known. And honestly, you just got to see what this team is made of because there's nowhere to hide, especially playing on a roster. And the future is looking bright with this 26 class. So
Mm-hmm.
no matter, I would say you can't really have the no matter how the season goes with Izzo, but honestly, with how this team is stacking up for next year, you have to feel really good about 26 and 25. I definitely don't feel, say, bad about. I think that you're going to find what this team is made of, and this team's going to be well tested by the time Big Ten play starts, and I think that benefits them in the long run because you will have these coaching moments, you will have these teaching moments well before the calendar hits December, well before the calendar hits January, and your season's already in a way decided by the time you're mid-January. If you're starting 2-5 in conference play, it puts you up for okay, we're going to be watching every MSU game, not with the expectation of how is my team going to find a way to win, but is my team going to be able to keep Tom Izzo's tournament streak?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think by having them well tested, especially with the amount of question marks on the roster, I think that Big Ten play is going to be a lot. While the non-conference might not be as much fun, I think Big Ten play is going to be a lot more fun by having this team well tested. Is my opinion on it.
Yeah. And the Big Ten schedule itself is, I don't want to say it's easy because the
February
Big Ten's the
loaded?
best. Yeah, it's Big Ten's the best conference in basketball still, in my opinion. I know the SEC's caught up in recent years, but
Big Ten still hasn't won a national title since 2000, buddy.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I will say, I think the Big Ten scheduling did us a little bit of a favor this year. We don't have to go on as many crazy road trips. We don't have to go to some of the places
We get
that
Purdue.
are
Yeah, I was just
holidays.
gonna say we
With
go
the
to
exception, we do have to go to Mackey, but that's it is what it is. You got to go there eventually, so whatever. But
if Michigan underperforms, you get an extra home game.
yep,
Exactly.
and some of the other teams that have maybe been really tough places to play in the past have turned out rosters that may not be as tough as they've been in the past, i.e. Iowa, Wisconsin, potentially. They're
But I guarantee you the same teams are saying that about the Michigan State roster this
Same.
year.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, but this is the scheduling on paper so far looks, I don't want to say easier, but it's not as hard as it very well could have been. And so after a non-conference gauntlet, that may be a good thing to get the really difficult tests out of the way early, get your team where it needs to be, and then be able to navigate that schedule a little bit with a little bit more experience. I will say it is nice to see a anytime, anywhere, any place type scheduling, not in the conference from Izzo like we have in the past, with a team that's going to be based on how it does, pretty solely on how it's upperclassmen leadership play.
Yeah.
And that's what this team is. This team, if it goes anywhere, it's going to be because Cohen Carr takes the next step. It's going to be Jackson Kohler. It's going to be Jeremy Fears. And the upperclassmen, this is a very experienced team for MSU. This isn't a bunch of freshmen coming in that need to contribute. If this team's going to go anywhere, it's going to be the players that have been here taking a step up, and it's going to be the leaders leading. And so I think when you have that and you have that need, that's the kind of team you want to take into these gauntlets non-conference schedules. So hopefully that works out to Tom Izzo's favor. Like I said, we talked about this in the episode Emmett and I did with the basketball schedule. Non-conference scheduling may not, the record may not be what you're used to afterwards, but that's okay. Izzo does this for a reason, and come tournament time, it normally pays off. So hope that's the case this year, but we'll leave that at that. We'll do a basketball preview here shortly, and let's finish up with hockey. MSU started its season series, season schedule, I should say. Had a home series with New Hampshire last weekend, split the series, which is unexpected by a lot of people coming in, but kind of you saw it actually with other teams too, and I think this is going to become more of a common thing, that these teams getting a lot of CHL transfers are going to take some time to gel. And that's just going to be more of maybe a talent transfer and a level of play step up than we thought it would be. The day MSU lost, Penn State lost, Western lost, a bunch of highly ranked teams. I mean, that's 3 of the top 4 teams right there in the country lost when you count MSU, and a few other teams lost too. So you have ranked opponents going down. You have teams that are importing a lot of new guys, and while they're just extremely talented, just like MSU is, it's going to take some time to get everybody on the same page. So at the end of the day, a loss at your first game of the season against New Hampshire is not going to, break your season. So regroup. They came back the next night and had a shutout. Trey Augustine was outstanding. So that's kind of how that went. But no rest for the wicked here, because now we fly to Boston and take on Boston University in the toughest non-conference schedule games that you're going to have, and that is Friday and Saturday this weekend. The Friday game, ESPN2 is actually broadcasting. It's going to be one of their first broadcasted regular season college hockey games in quite some time. A lot of hype. John Buttergross and company going to be on the call. Between the two teams, I think Friday night's game is going to feature, 34 NHL drafted players. So a ton of NHL talent. And Boston is currently ranked number 1 in the country. So there's your test. You want to talk about anytime, anywhere, any place. Adam Nightingale and company are going into number 1 Boston University, and hey, it's time to put it up. So Porter Martone has looked really good to start the year, as we kind of anticipated. Some of the pieces are obviously getting their feet under them. Defense is going to have to step up a little bit more. They did not look the best during the first 2 games. We're going to need Trey Augustine to show up, obviously. But I think that the Spartans have a good chance to go into, I can never pronounce this arena right, so correct me if I'm wrong, fans, but it's Agganis Arena, I believe, in Boston, and have a chance to win. So I like our chances. Everybody tune in if they can. It's going to be some good hockey to watch, and I, for one, am pretty excited. Guys, any thoughts on the big weekend for hockey?
Yeah, I think you kind of addressed a lot of it. Just not necessarily the weekend a lot of people expected, but if you look at last year, like MSU's record on Fridays compared to Saturdays, dramatically different. Like when MSU won on Friday, you kind of fully expected them to win on Saturday. When MSU fell on Friday, I believe maybe they might have lost like twice all of last year on Saturday, or it's some absurd
If
record.
that,
I think
it
it was
wasn't
like
many.
12. I was just gonna say, I think it was like 12-2 or something like that. So, like, even if, let's say, they lose on Friday, there's a real possibility that this team comes back and responds on Saturday. Like, this team doesn't get swept a ton. Obviously, it's a different team. That could very much happen this weekend. But it's one of those things that at this point, like, it's early on in the season. Like, there's no concern whatsoever. Like, if this is starting to happen in, like, a month or two, we can have that conversation. But at this point, it's just about getting these guys going. And you're going to have some playmakers that are going to be really fun to watch. And it's truly about getting these guys to gel. And if they get gelling, it's going to be real fun this year. It'll just take some time, like Chris said.
Yeah, honestly, so we're all looking forward to Boston, because that's going to be honestly one heck of a game. I'm going to try to find a way to tune in. I'm going to be, at that point. Oh wait, the Friday game is the one full broadcast, correct?
Yep, ESPN.
I think that's the first time. I think that's the first time in like a decade that the ESPN's broadcasting as well. If I'm not
It's been
mistaken.
a long time since there's been a regular season game. They've picked up, obviously, tournament games and postseason stuff, but regular season, it doesn't happen very often anymore.
Yeah, that's one I'm excited to tune into, just because I was afraid I was going to be on the road if it was Saturday, or I was going to have to try to find a way to get hotel Wi-Fi working for it. But no, very excited for that. And honestly, just looking back at that New Hampshire game, the thing that really stood out to me is you have that adjustment period with the freshmen. I think this year in particular, you are going to have that bigger adjustment period for freshmen, because of such the influx of talent, is my belief there. That so maybe this team, and like Zach said, they could very well easily win Saturday because of how they bounce back. And just, I think that it's going to be a great game to watch. And I honestly might like the MSU's chances better in the second game than first. But regardless, if you like hockey, then it's the game to watch. I would say for
Agreed.
the regular season until you get to the Penn State contest in a couple months.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of those games that you always got to kind of tune in for just because of that talent. And, you don't get as many of these matchups week to week in college hockey anymore, especially because non-conference schedules get a little bit easier. So, but yeah, I just, so far I applaud this team's ability to kind of what it's shown under Adam Nightingale in general, but you saw it again this past weekend, its ability to self-correct from a game-to-game basis. I mentioned the defense not having its best games. That was the main factor in the loss Friday night last week against New Hampshire. The defense needed to be better playing out. It just wasn't great, and then MSU just kind of came out a little sluggish, and that's what happens sometimes in hockey. But you look at that, and then all of a sudden the next game Saturday night, they come out, like I said, it was a 2-0 shutout. MSU only allowed 13 shots on goal against Trey Augustine. He stopped them all. So they really clamped down on the defense, and then Matt Bagsell added a goal. It's just its ability to correct the issues that pop up in a major way can be corrected sometimes even in game, but you see them definitely worked on in that was a 12-hour turnaround, or not 12-hour, 24-hour turnaround. And it was just like a switch was flipped. So you like to see that out of this team. Like I said, Porter Martone, just a quick shout out of the gate. He's scored already this year. He had a couple assists in the second game. Just flat out stud. He's been mixing it up physically. He's trying to set the tone. He's really good. And
yeah,
I said it when he committed. I know everybody was all in for Gavin McKenna and the talent Gavin McKenna brings. He's a very good hockey player. There's a reason he's going to be the number one pick in the draft this year. Porter Martone, the talent gap between the two is not as much as everybody says it is or thinks it is. Porter Martone is a very good hockey player. The Flyers got a very good player in him, and I think he's going to be perfect in Philly, to be perfectly honest with you. Just the way that city's mindset is. So they will love him. And so far, 2 games into the season, I love him being on the Spartans. So look for him to come out and try to establish the tone early against Boston University. I'm going to say Boston College 1,000 times. It just, we've had to play them so much in every sport the past few years. So, but yeah, tune in. Like I said, ESPN2, and I believe that's a 7 o'clock puck drop. Let me look real quick and see if I can see it. 7 o'clock. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's 7.
So it'll be one to watch, and then we'll discuss the results next week. Quick shout out. Former MSU Spartan hockey player Mason Appleton was signed by the Red Wings in the offseason as a free agent. Weirdly, and was questioned. Todd McClellan, coach of the Red Wings, slotted him on the first line when Lucas Raymond got hurt for the Red Wings. What has he done? Scored a game-winning goal with 45 seconds left against the Maple Leafs, and then had 2 yesterday against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Shout out Mason Appleton, killing it so far for the Wings. Love to see it. So MSU hockey standouts everywhere. Anson Carter was on the broadcast on TNT last night, just giving him all sorts of praise with the MSU love, and you love to see it. So that's all I got for hockey. That's all we got. We do want to touch on other sports. We're just not really able to fit it into the schedules of late. Shout out soccer, women's soccer, men's soccer. They've been doing great stuff. A lot of other programs are doing really well. We'll dive more into that in the future. But overall, outside of football, things are humming right along for MSU athletics. Hopefully the football team can turn it around this weekend and maybe give us a little bit of positivity going into the Michigan game. So that's it for us right now. Zach, Emmett, I appreciate you guys joining us again. And we'll see everybody soon. Follow us on all of our socials. Emmett obviously will be on the media rounds this weekend, so make sure you follow him on Twitter for all his live updates, and we'll be back next week to break it all down. So in the meantime, thanks everybody. Have a great night, and go green.
Go white.
Go white.